Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my good googly moogly. Baby, you might as well slap my face and call me Little Richard because, baby, I got me a talk show, all right? That was Michael Jackson. Baby, the name of this talk show is Created to Create, and it's hosted by none other than the wonderful, the Princess Simone Emanuel. I'm so excited to have you. I'm so excited to invite you in. The reason why I created this show was to give you the knowledge, the tools, to let you know you can create too. That creativity is this powerful thing that we all have the ability, and it lies right within us. So create, baby. Create. Created to create. I honestly feel that I was put on this earth to create. I wouldn't be doing anything else. I ain't got nothing else to do but create. And I want us to know that all of us can create whatever we want. The possibilities, the dreams, the loves, the conversations, the relationships, anything. You create it. So create what you need. Create your possibility. It wouldn't be right if I didn't first thank God on this first episode, right? So thank you, God, because it took a long time, a hard time to get here. But also, in 2024, just a couple months ago, I lost my mom. And that was also right during the time that, y'all. During 2024, I lost my mom. And it's been hard. I can't say that it has been easy. But I know she would be proud. I know that this something, she taught me how to talk, baby. She was one of the best talkers I know. And so I'm excited to carry her with me. I'm excited carrying my dad's energy and his ancestry with me. And all the people, women, men who come before me and who's gonna come after me. I'm excited. So this is Created to Create. It's all about making your dreams come true, creating the possibility for yourself. All right? So we have a great show. In tune, stay in tune, baby. Stick around, stick around. We have Mariah Moore, Yaisha Bubbles Alexander, and of course, me, Simone Emanuel. Thank you for watching Created to Create. It just got started. If you don't know, you're like really, really pretty. And I think I am too. And because we're like really, really pretty, it's only right that we dim a light on ourselves, right? So this is a segment where I like to call it Just Dim a Light, where we shine a light on our special creatives in our lives, baby.
Hey girl.
Oh my God! It's like you do a talk show. You say, "Hey," and then they show up.
They show up.
I love you.
I love you, baby.
Oh my
Thank
goodness!
you for having me.
You. What made you wear this?
Listen. So
Wait. Before we know, if you can't tell, we know each other.
We do. We know each other.
Granddaughter, grandmother, drag queen.
Yeah.
Not
drag
trans.
Queen. My pronouns is drag queen.
Period. And this is, I call her matriarch because she's the matriarch of my family. But this is Yaisha Bubbles Alexander.
Hey y'all.
Do you want to give them a rundown
Y'all
of
just
you?
call me Bubbles Child. Huh?
I was just going to ask, you want to give a rundown on your life as a drag? Because she has many hats. Life as a drag queen first.
Life as a drag queen for me is the most amazing thing because you get to really express yourself, and at any moment you can be whoever you want to be. I can be a bird if I want to be. I can be a woman if I want to be. I can be androgynous if I want to be. I mean, you get to do it all in drag, and everything is amplified and big, and I love costume. I love drag. I love drama. I love colors, and I love to have fun. So that's what life in drag is for me.
And when did you start being a drag queen? When did drag into your life?
So drag into my life, it was a long time ago, girl. Maybe 2000. I don't know how long ago it was, but maybe 2001, something in the early 2000s. So I started out really late because Just like I'm the matriarch of this family, my mother Jada had, a couple kids as well, and I was one of the oldest siblings. But I started doing drag last because I learned everything backwards. So I learned how to do hair first. I learned how to do makeup first. I learned how to sew first, and so then I would just help my siblings get in drag, and I never wanted to do it.
Really?
I would always be like, no. I would be like,
why didn't you want to do it?
It's fun because I have more fun putting them in drag. Like I love to see the creative side of it from the beginning to end. And like when we came up with the ideas and we put it on paper, I love to see it come alive. So that was why, and it's not that I didn't want to do it, I just had more fun and I was more in love with making sure their visions came true.
Mm-hmm. And so you...
A tiny step to your mark. Boom.
And
Great.
Simone, be aware of your vocal levels
I'm talking too loud.
when you scream.
Got it.
Y'all good. Okay, keep going.
So, drag side of things, drag queen.
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
also now NOLA Fashion Freak. I told y'all, multiple hats. So, drag queen, now NOLA Fashion Freak. Tell us about your life as a designer.
All right, so my life as a designer, as a young kid, I was always surrounded by someone who was sewing. I have an aunt that sews, her name's Ida, and then my mom also sewed. But the weirdest thing about my mom was, in our apartment that she was sewing, her room was downstairs, we were upstairs, so I never got to watch my mom sew. But at the time, I was like one of those break it, fix it kids, right? I would break stuff, take it apart, because I was so intrigued on how to put it back together. She had a sewing machine, and it wasn't working, and she would say, oh, that, the old sewing machine under the cabinet, it don't work, or whatever. So one day I pulled the sewing machine out, and I was like, let me just play with this thing and see if I can get it working.
And this is before drag?
This was before drag, before anything, before I started designing or anything at all. So I don't know how, but the faith in God and the trust in Him, I guess He fixed the machine. I actually made the sewing machine work. I don't know what I did. So I called my mom. I'm like, Mama, the sewing machine working? She was like, that sewing machine don't work, boy. It's been broke all these years or whatever. So she came downstairs and she tested it out, and the machine was working. So then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna see what I can do with this. I went to a thrift store. Me and one of my best friends, Devin, we bought like a jacket, maybe some skirts or something. So I took everything home and I like detached everything so I can get a better understanding of how they put it together. And that same night, I fixed the machine and started sewing. Me, my best friend Devin, and Marvin, we sat down and we made 3 dresses, like
Wow.
3 full gowns that particular night. And then I actually made my gown for my first show at that time.
Wow.
So this
you
was
were so
after-
the first time you were in drag, it was an original.
Yeah, it was original. Yeah, the first time I was in drag, I did my own makeup, I made my own wig, made my own dress, everything. So
Anything as a girl who I just want you to know, I have yet to sew. I can do a little slight beat.
Oh, it's coming.
Okay, it's
It's
coming.
coming. You got
It's
to learn.
coming.
You're in Alexander, so you have to learn.
Yes, it's coming.
You have to be.
So
You have to be self-sufficient.
You're not judging me because I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
You're not. You're a baby. You're young. I mean, you're beautiful. Let me fix your hair so they can see how beautiful you are. You're beautiful, but you're a baby.
Okay.
You got to learn these things. So you have time, baby. You have time.
Can we do one of my favorite things that I
What?
like us to do? Can you give a little beat and I do a little rap?
Mom, you know my voice is gone.
Well, you got a little.
A little. Let me see. Stick 'em. Stick 'em.
Stick 'em, ha ha ha, stick 'em. Stick 'em, ha ha ha, stick 'em. Stick 'em, ha ha ha, stick 'em. Name is Beyonce.
Stick 'em.
Sometimes, Simone.
Stick 'em.
Can't leave me.
Stick 'em. Stick 'em.
Can't leave me alone. Okay, it's not rolling.
We make you rap like at every
We do.
function. You come into the house rapping and singing and stuff
It's
like
very
that.
true.
so
You and Big
we will make you rap. Yeah, God. It sets the pace of the party. It changes the emotions in the room. If it's we're having a rough day, we're family. Sometimes we get into it, we want to knock each other upside the head. You'll come in rapping and singing.
And then it's like, wow, it's a good time.
Everything changes. Everything changes. So, the Fashion Freak. So once that happened, I learned how to sew. That was the whole drag thing. I was working in corporate America, and then I just decided that one day it was really tough. So I was like, I'm working this hard, and I'm extremely stressed out, and I'm doing all this behind somebody else's money. So I was like, I just need to let this go. I had to take that leap and take that jump, and just step out on faith and make it happen. So here we are 7 years later. I have not missed a beat. I have not had an unpaid bill. God is so amazing. God is so good. And that's how Know the Fashion Freak came about. So now I'm a costume designer. I design prom gowns, wedding gowns, do costumes for a plethora of Mardi Gras clubs, second line clubs.
And how can
So
people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Nola Fashion Freak. Pretty much that's it. You can also have my business number. If you need to get something made, that is 504-782-6910. But once again, on Instagram, I am Nola Fashion Freak. Everything is spelled normal. Nola Fashion Freak Instagram.
Period. And literally, when you go on her Instagram, you will see that she is designed for all of the greatest in New Orleans.
Yes,
and
yes. I have some celebrities in there and everything. I mean, God is good. He's been blessing. I'm staying faithful. I'm still trusting him. So
God is
I don't
good.
know what's next.
What's next?
You never know what's next.
Getting your own,
You never know what's
own
next.
building,
My own
your
building,
fashion
my
line.
studio, my fashion line. Yeah, I need to do a collection. I never had time to work on a collection. That's next.
So
Yeah,
next,
that's next.
you
That's
heard
what's
it here
next.
first.
I
What's
will have a
next?
collection coming out soon.
Title of it yet?
Coming out
We gonna
soon.
come up with it.
I don't know, but I do know that also, although you get familiar with Nola Fashion Freak, but I also felt like when I moved into the mainstream side, I didn't want something so localized because Nola Fashion Freak just kind of puts me, to Nola. So I think what I've decided to do was my mainstream name is going to be Dylan Alexander Designs. So that's what you'll look for in the mainstream when my collection comes out.
Dylan Alexander Design.
And that's my birth last name and my chosen last name as well. So that's Dylan Alexander Designs. Will be what my fashion show will be labeled. That'll be my fashion show, my mainstream. When I get a design firm and all those things, look for Dylan Alexander Designs. You'll see. It's coming.
You heard it. Look for it.
It's coming.
Dylan Alexander Designs. Thank you so much,
You are
Matriarch.
so welcome.
Thank you.
This is sickening.
Thank
This
you.
is an amazing platform.
Thank you.
You get to live your dreams. This is what you always dreamt of. You always talk to me about this. Keep this going. Y'all keep following her. Keep supporting her. If y'all know anybody with some money out there, honey, who want to fund this, y'all make sure you get in touch with her and give them your information on how to get in touch with you. How do they follow this?
IS_fierce and all the YouTube stuff will be put right underneath this comment at the end of the video, at the beginning of the video. Created to create. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love
have
you.
it. I love you.
And we'll be back with Mariah Moore. Hey y'all, hey. Thank y'all so much for watching Created to Create. And we are back with the wonderful, the gracious, the beautifully talented Mariah Moore. Thank you. And we're also here back again with the matriarch, the love of my life, Yaisha Bubbles Alexander. And today we get to play a little game. So can we get into a little fierce game? Yaisha, take it away.
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing today?
Hey.
Y'all ready for this?
We good.
We're just going to warm it up a little bit, play a little word association. So I'll say a word, and then you tell me your first thoughts come to your mind. You can give me more than one thought, but
Okay.
So we'll start there. So I'll start with you, Simone.
Okay.
So we want to talk about things, dear to our hearts from New Orleans and stuff like that. So the first thing, of course, naturally we have to talk about is Mardi Gras.
Oh, when I think of Mardi Gras, I think of beads and breast.
Beads and breasts.
Yeah.
I could have similar thoughts.
Early mornings, late nights, and lots of alcohol.
Lots of alcohol. So how do you feel about the Superdome?
I think it's fucking confusing. I do. I think the Superdome could be, shout out to, is it still Mercedes-Benz? What is it now?
Caesars.
I don't even know who Caesar is.
Yeah, they
the
own
salad?
People
casino.
in,
They own the casino.
yeah.
Like the salad?
From Vegas, the casino people.
Who's Caesar though? Like, Caesar, like,
But at least when it was, we knew who the person
I
was.
knew who
So,
Mercedes
we don't know who
is.
Caesar-
I met Mercedes. I don't know
Yeah,
Caesar.
I think Caesar had too much money for we to know who that is.
And that's why I get confused. But we ain't talking about the arena.
Mm-hmm.
Smoothie King Center. I like Smoothie King.
You like
It's
Smoothie King.
better
It's more
than.
intimate.
And
I like the intimate crowd. What about you, Mariah?
I missed it when it said Louisiana Superdome.
Yeah.
It was the old school. But, the Superdome is nice. I'm glad that they're finally upgrading it.
Yeah.
The suites feel a little bit better. But
Got it. It's just something about the name for me when they change it to Caesars. It just doesn't feel like it belongs to us anymore. It's almost like we're renting it or something. It's like it's
not ours. It's
Right,
Caesar's.
like it's not ours. So it's just kind of weird.
well, they did that to pay off debt.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
We need 2 Superdomes for that.
Wait, to pay off debt?
Well, so Louisiana, when it was the Louisiana Superdome, it didn't have a licensing agreement. And then it went to Mercedes-Benz, and now it's at Caesar. So they pay a licensing agreement.
Capitalism. It fucks everything.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
So since we're talking about the Superdome, what about the New Orleans Saints?
Okay, can I get quick story?
Quick story.
When y'all know when the Saints went to the Super Bowl and everybody was rooting for the Saints, I was rooting for the Colts because I just wanted to be different.
Just to be different.
Just to be different. And then I went to school in Indiana and became a Saints fan, and the Saints have yet to be back. And so I never got to really experience rooting for the team that I. And it's very sad. The Colts didn't even win.
Wow.
And I felt, and
So
everybody
you
thought
for nothing.
For nothing.
You traded
I wasn't
for
even on the
nothing.
winning because we all knew, like, when we watched the Super Bowl, how many of us really, like, it was like the Saints were gonna win, but I think people were very nervous. Like, it was like,
You just didn't know. You just
yeah,
did
I
not
just
know.
didn't. That was my quick story. Anyway, what do you feel about the Saints?
I mean, I don't particularly feel either way. I don't really watch sports, but I do wear the shirts because they're
Right.
cute.
It's just fun. They're cute. I love them. They're cute.
And I love Gail, so
Yeah.
Gail Benson is dope.
I like, what's his name? Alvin Kamara.
Kamara, yeah, he's nice.
Is he really?
He's nice. He's nice. So for me, I don't really. I do watch sports. I don't particularly watch football all the time, but I do watch the Saints games. So if it's the Saints game, I'm going to watch it. I'm not watching any other teams. I don't care about the other teams at all. I only watch it for the Saints. So I mean, other than that,
That's it.
it is what it is.
Me and Alvin Kamara go to the same dry cleaner.
Really?
Oh, so you
So
see
we
him, and he's
always
rude.
bump
What
into
is?
each
How is
other.
it? Cause does he look as good as his skin?
I mean, I'm not attracted. I know he's
You
not
know-
attractive to me, but
Really? Why not?
and
Is
he's
it-
really short.
Is
Yeah,
well,
he's
you know what
really
they
short.
say,
It's not they say it's true.
and
It's true.
we are
It's
we are
true.
talking about
It's
penis
not
size.
there,
I
this
just
is
wanted
law.
to be
Yeah.
clear. Okay,
This is true.
I-
This is true.
Don't know, but
you don't know, but
Yeah.
okay. Questions: has he ever been in gray sweat? It's like
No, he's always in like windbreaker shorts, the little shorts with the little tights underneath.
I like those. I like tights. I need to bring some stuff to the dry cleaners. I need the address.
He just looks like he doesn't take baths regularly.
Oh no, that's a problem.
And I mean, that could just be, I don't know. I mean, he just has that
He just came from
aesthetic.
practice.
I don't know.
Right? Does it give? Does it give? He just came for practice and he don't take baths, or like?
Well, I mean, they aren't in season. So, I mean, I just saw him not
But
long
any man
ago.
that goes to the dry cleaners they take baths, right?
Not necessarily.
I mean, if he's going to the dry cleaners, but I mean, I have no problem bathing him. Listen.
A little nasty.
Right. So listen, I have another game for y'all quickly.
Okay.
So what we'll do is, I am going to name something, and you guys are going to have 10 seconds apiece to name as many things as you can that associates with this particular topic.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's start with a hard one. Are you ready, counterman? The sexy counterman.
Sexy counterman, are you ready? Is the
All
is it
right.
ding ding ding?
So you have 10 seconds to name as many. It's going to be hard because you're going to be thinking while she's going, so I'm going to go back and forth. So you're going to go first. You're going to do as many Louisiana parishes as you can name in 10 seconds.
Oh my gosh!
Now.
Ascension. Wait, start. Wait, you ready? Camera. Wait, start.
Give me 1 second.
Oh, the cameraman wasn't ready.
Sorry. Okay.
Oh my gosh, that was hard. I'm not even
So
thinking
I'm
of
going to do
it.
the whole thing
Okay.
over
You
again.
got an
Yes.
easy one.
I don't. Okay.
You're going to do it too, but I'm just saying that
Oh.
it's crazy because now that she's listening, you get to listen
Right.
and think while she's doing it. So
I won't think.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not thinking either. I still only
She
got
already
one.
have 20, and I ain't already.
Right. Of course she does.
I won't
It's all
She's
that.
a very strategic woman. She has it ready.
You can't trust it. Yeah,
Ready?
All right, so we have Louisiana parishes.
Okay. And Ascension Parish, Orleans Parish, Washington Parish, Plaquemines Parish, Jefferson Parish.
That's it.
How many was that?
Like 6.
6. That was like about 6.
And then you can't name the same one she named.
Oh, so
Oh, okay. Well, if you, I mean, that's really
It's
hard.
gonna be hard. Well, let's just give it a shot.
Okay.
On the count of 3, Mariah. 1, 2, 3, go.
Avoyelles. Wait, you're messing up my time. Avoyelles, Washita, East Baton Rouge, West Baton Rouge, Orleans, Jefferson, Rapides,
That's it.
Acadiana.
That's 10 seconds?
Yeah.
What are you counting, Chinese?
damn.
You got the.
Jesus. Okay. Well, we'll start.
Well,
That was fast as shit. Let's name famous people that are members of the LGBTQIA plus community. Starting with Mariah. 1, 2.
3 go.
Well, Laverne Cox, Janet Mox, Raquel Willis, India Moore, Tracy Africa, myself. I don't know.
That's fair.
Jesse Smollett.
Oh,
Shout out
I
Jesse.
mean, he's still welcome. He's
He has a movie coming out.
we
He's
will
still
not shun anyone
welcome.
out.
Niecy Nash.
Yeah, I love Niecy. Oh my God. So Beyonce, what do you have?
First, Jesse, book me if you ever, need a girl in a film. Second, Yaisha Bubbles Alexander. We're gonna go with MJ Rodriguez.
Oh my God.
What's the other? Dominique Jackson. Jeremy Pope, Jeremy O'Hare,
Jeremy's gay.
Billy Porter. The gays.
Call me Jeremy.
Which one?
So
Jeremy is
sweet,
fine.
so
Yeah,
nice.
he is.
You met Jeremy?
He is nice.
So unlike Alvin
He looks
Kamara,
nice.
does he smell like he showered?
Jeremy
Girl.
smells like a scent that you could never recreate.
Really?
Wow.
Is he tall?
It's somewhere between
Yeah, how
like
tall
cocoa
is
butter
he?
and eternity.
Is he tall?
Okay.
He's about my height, like
Okay.
about
Well,
like
tall
5'11".
enough. He's not short. He's not short.
Not short, but he's beautiful inside.
Yeah, because he is stunning.
Mm-hmm.
What are you most proud of about being a member of the LGBTQIA plus community, being black and from New Orleans?
Ooh. I think I'm most proud of like the overcomingness of it all. That I feel like black people have a story of overcoming. New Orleans has a story of overcoming. The LGBTQ has like a story of overcoming. All the odds goes against us, but why is the LGBTQ community always the best dressed, the best? It's like we are those girls, and I think the same way with New Orleans. New Orleans handed a lot of shit, right?
Yeah.
But somehow New Orleans still makes it like pop.
Still, yeah. Not
It's
going
always
anywhere.
that, and the same thing for black people. So I like the fact that everything could be saying like you're not gonna make it, and it's like, look at me, I have a talk show, right?
Right, we made it. So what about you, Mariah?
I mean, for me, I think that being from New Orleans, it gives us an edge over others because growing up and being from here, you're always kind of forced to show up as your full self, so you really don't have a choice.
You can't hide anything.
So you can't hide anything. You have to, you have to really be present and like walk in your fullness. And also it's received, right?
Yeah.
So and encouraged. And so when you leave New Orleans or you go into other spaces and you realize that other people haven't necessarily grew up in an environment or a city where, showing up as your full whole self was welcome. And I think that's just very different when we think about a context as it pertains to the South. It's like, wow, New Orleans is its own cultural melting pot where it gives us so many advantages over other folks who grew up in other places. Because we grow up as our full authentic selves, whether it's inside or outside the home. We have a space or an outlet to express ourselves, and I think that's what's so special. And that's why I think I'm better than everyone else from anywhere else.
I think
That's
so.
good, though. It's like,
What's the answer for you?
you guys covered a lot of it. But the thing for me is, I think it's just all very special because New Orleans is a special place. There's nowhere like New Orleans. Everybody want to argue about who has the best food. We clearly have the best food. We clearly have the best culture. We clearly have the most fun. We have the realest people. Like if we love you, we really love you. It's not like a whole lot of cutthroat stuff going on here. Don't get me wrong, it happens in small, but on a level. The levels are much smaller than other places, other cities I've visited, like with people who are like fake supporting each other and stuff like that. We don't really deal with that. And I guess it's good because our community is a lot smaller too than other people. So I just think the fact of how special New Orleans is, I think that's what makes me most proud about it because we are just a very special people.
Nothing else
We
like
have
that.
special hearts. We're just special. And everybody who visits this place, they leave talking about how much they enjoy being with New Orleans people. So that's enough alone. That's enough alone.
Too, I think even when we talk about discourse that happens in the community, it's just like, even we may have discourse among the community, but we're not ever going to allow anyone
Else
Oh,
to
it's
come in.
no.
And that's crazy because we're taught that in our homes.
Yeah.
We're taught that with family. Families are going to fall out. stuff is going to happen, but we're taught in New Orleans and Louisiana to never let that get outside of the family. You know, in other places, it's always, you know, somebody's running there and telling the tea somewhere, and it gets out. But, you know, in New Orleans, we do a really good job at keeping that within the family and between us.
Yeah.
So I think that looks really, really good, you know, and it's healthy.
It is healthy.
Because, you know, now we have this sense of trust.
And
with each other because
accountability, a sense of
Yeah.
like, I'm accountable for you because you mine, because we have that same, we get New Orleans.
Yeah.
We know what it's like and the struggles of
And then I don't want anybody else to think that's like, you know, in New Orleans, we just, you know, stuff happens and we let it slide. No, Miss Thing, we're going to get each other together.
Yes.
We're going to gather each other. Well, you know, we're just going to keep that.
Yeah.
We're going to keep it inside the family. That's just what it is. New Orleans is a big family. And that's why when they come here, they love it because we treat them like family.
Yeah.
You know, we treat them like, we don't treat anybody else like tourists or like they just visiting. Once they're here, they're ours.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
well, since like you came here and like, can I just keep y'all? I know I already have y'all, but like, can I keep y'all forever and y'all come back after the second, like, after I got it even more together and like the budget is bigger and better? Can y'all come back and play?
And look, even if I'm not in this place, I don't mind being in one of those places to make sure this thing happens.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm here.
I love you.
I'm here. I love you too.
I love
so
you.
I don't have any more questions for y'all. I'm gonna go text Jeremy
Okay.
so I can smell his cocoa.
Oh,
berries
yes,
maybe.
yes.
And then I'll let you talk to Mariah.
You tell when you talk to Jeremy, tell Dylan Burnside. I don't know. You tell him I said
Oh,
hello.
it's
Who that
Dylan.
is.
Oh.
Dylan. It's Dylan.
It's Dylan.
He's special.
Dylan.
Dylan.
Well, you
is
tell.
another very sweet person.
Also, my last name could be Dylan too. My name is
No,
Dwayne.
you keep Jeremy.
I am Dwayne Dylan.
It would be Burnside. 'Cause
He's a
that's
Burnside?
Dylan's last.
Dylan.
I
Dylan.
don't like Dylan.
Because their
though.
name is really Dylan.
Yeah,
So
my last
Dylan.
name's really
I'm
Dylan.
sorry, y'all.
Dylan
Anyway.
Dylan. Okay.
Thank y'all so much
We
for
got
watching.
you.
We are having a good time.
Yes,
When
yes,
you come
yes.
back, I'm getting a closer look at the beautiful, talented Mariah Moore.
Dig deep past the surface. Can you feel my heart?
Thank you for watching Created to Create. And if you can't tell, I'm trans. Ha Bow. All right. And yes, I'm back with the wonderful, the talented community leader, someone who I love, admire, and adore, the wonderful Mariah Moore. I want to first say thank you. And we'll talk about kind of my first experience with you and how I came, but I want to know, in terms of New Orleans and community, what do you rep? What is your hometown? I know we're born in a lot of places, but when you're talking about New Orleans, what community do you rep?
Well, so I mean, it's a little bit of a story. So I was born at Charity Hospital. I mean, I really, you know, Turo babies and all that are great, but I really feel like if you're born at Charity, you really, you know, you have that authentic
New Orleans.
New Orleans birthright. My family, a large amount of my family is actually from a little town on the North Shore called Madisonville. It's also the home of Leah Chase. She grew up right next door to my great-grandparents, grandparents, great-aunts and uncles. And then my family is actually also from the 7th Ward of New Orleans. So my cousins owned a bar right across, well, right down the street from what used to be Club Fusion. Like my family's bar, it's no longer there. It was gone long before.
I was born in the
actually
7th
came
Ward
on.
before Katrina.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
So I guess that would be like in New Orleans, like the neighborhood I rep. That's actually still the neighborhood that I live in.
Okay. You still live in the 7th Ward?
I live in the 7th. Part-time. But yeah.
Because you'll be traveling and things, and
Yeah,
you know, we live
yeah.
a lot of different places and
Yeah.
different things.
Overall neighborhood, though, I guess I rep District D since I ran for that council seat.
Shout out District D. My mom was a foster mother, so I grew up around a lot of different people, a lot of different children. Like, I got about 50, 60 different siblings, and a lot of them. So my heart, you know, I think part of the reason why I love advocacy work and part of the reasons why I love people so much is because I've been introduced to, like, my mom was like, here's someone you don't know, love them, right? And so what was your experience were you in foster care in New Orleans, or what was that experience being in foster care in total?
Well, I mean, it was a very, it has so many layers. I think that, so no, I wasn't always in foster care. I was in foster care from the age of 11 up into 17. But so my family went through a lot of dysfunction. There were a lot of things that my father struggled with. My mother passed away. I was always I lived out loud even as a child. So I think that in a black family from the South, with a family that was just so deeply rooted in tradition and the church, there was just a lot to struggle with and to try to understand when it came to who I was and the fact that I've always just shown up without seeking validation.
And you don't think that shift, like, do you feel like being in foster care, do you think in terms of you showing up, did that highlight you was like, okay, now I'm in the system, so now I got to be even more myself, or did you dim that light?
No, it never changed. I think that, I dealt with a lot of things, not understanding as a child that what was happening in my life wasn't necessarily my fault, but I was made to feel that everything that was happening in my life was because of the then decisions that I was being told that I made, meaning to show up as myself, and that quickly grew
And wait,
into,
so when you say like everything is your fault, you're speaking about
so the way in which I was expressing then what someone would call my sexuality, which I don't think is valid today, but more so my gender identity and the ways that I express my femininity as a child, I was being told that those decisions were my fault. And that was actually the undermining and demise.
And that they were bad, that they were your fault, and it was like you should not be displaying it?
Right, so I shouldn't be showing up this way, and maybe if I didn't show up this way, then I wouldn't be in the situation that I was in, meaning that all the harm I had experienced as a child was of my own doing. And that grew, I started to build a heavy resentment and an anger as a child, and so then that was misinterpreted as me being rebellious and manipulative and closed off and angry, which then, when a child goes through foster care, they go through all of these evaluations. And I was always approached with this idea that if you could just unpack the anger that you have towards everyone, then you'd be okay. But I think the clinicians weren't actually invested in me as a human being, because if they were, then they would have understood that I wasn't actually angry. I was deeply sad, and I felt alone, and I was also being abused.
Did you, I don't have to cut you off, but did you have, I had a lot of, like I said, I had a lot of siblings, and for me and my trans, there was this girl named Savannah, and she was one of the first girls who put me in a wig. I was stuffing her, using her bras and stuff like that, and it was all in secret. And I think it was because I'm a preacher's kid, so I come from a very biblical background. But when you have outside energies coming in, people know different things. So she supported it, and we would sneak around and do that. And in some ways, I guess, because I was living with my biological mother, I was very grateful that I had all these folks. So sometimes I'm like, I just want my own space, because I felt like I had a lot of, everybody was right next. But you're saying you felt alone being in foster care. Were you in one home, or was it like traveling? Like, why did you feel alone, or did you become close with anyone?
No. So what happened was, when I was taken out of my home, which I was grateful to be taken out of my home. I mean, I was experiencing abuse and neglect and all those things. I was placed with a white family. And it wasn't a good experience. I was only there 24 hours. And then I was moved again, this time to a black family. I was experiencing even worse conditions there. So then I was removed, and then I was put into a series of what they call group homes, so group settings with other children of my then demographic, and just a lot went on. And so I kind of toughed it out, and I did what I had to do to keep myself in a good space, a relatively good space, or the best space I think that I could be in at that time as a kid. And I just navigated the system. So I went through a series of group homes. I think what people fail to realize is when you're in foster care, when you're in the system, after you reach a certain age, foster families, they don't really want children after they reach a certain age, because they really want small children.
And my mom was the opposite. She was my mom convinced my grandmother to start doing foster care, and so she was very much, she wanted teens, like that was, and she was a drug court counselor, so her whole thing was she wanted teens and things. So her whole thing was, okay, how do we switch? How do we change? Like people who come to us at 13, 14, your life's still like, you're still a baby. You're still young, you know? And so like that shift, do you feel, so you said from 14 to 7?
No,
What
from
was it?
11, from 10, 11 to 17. But I do want to just say that, so my family had the ways and means to care for me. And when I say family, I mean larger family, right?
You mean the
Aunts,
village of
uncles, well off, they have it. But because now I know now as an adult, you know, and this is just advice for every foster kid. When you reach a certain age, you by law, you have a right to request your entire file from the state or whatever state you live in. So I did that when I think I got all of those records finally when I was like 26 or 27. And I mean, it was boxes and boxes of documents. And I sat and read the whole thing. And what I discovered was that I wasn't removed, and what I was told was that no one could care for me. People chose not to care for me, and they chose not to care for me because they were just like, we don't know what to do with, you know, this child because this child is just so different. And that was very hurtful to read. So yes, from 11 to 17. Yeah.
And how does that relate? So when we say your trans story, we all have like the epiphany, my epiphany of transness. I remember I went to Breakout. Milan was there. At that time in high school, I didn't even know what trans was. Like, I didn't know. I honestly was disgusted. I was like, I was in my gay male identity, and I was like, I don't know what is what. How does that fit in terms of did you have an epiphany in terms of, okay, I'm trans, this is what this is, and how did that look like growing up, and at what age, you know?
Yeah, I didn't have an epiphany. I didn't even know, honestly. And I just want to put this into, I want to frame this in a way that folks watching this who are younger understand, because we didn't back then, because I'm about to be 36, and back in 2003, 2004, like, we had the internet, but it wasn't anything like it is today. Like, nothing was readily available or accessible in my experience, because I never had that level of access in, you know, navigating the system. So I didn't even know. I just knew I was me. I knew that I was, and I desired and wanted, and I really gravitated more towards everything feminine in my life, and everything that I saw and everything that I did. I never apologized for it. Anything masculine or related to masculinity, or anything that was deemed like you should be doing because this is traditional for a more masculine person to do, it disgusted me. I was like, nope, I'm not going outside. No, I hate sports. I'm not doing any of those things. Like, I'm not cutting the grass. I'm not doing, like, I'm not even taking out the trash, but, you know, just to frame that. You know, so I always did that. So
I was scared to take out the trash.
It wasn't until I was actually 17 that I actually saw a trans person that I knew to be trans for the first time.
And you didn't know they were trans.
I did.
And did you know what trans was at 17?
I didn't.
You just saw trans woman.
I knew that. So okay, this is the story that I've told, that I've given, that is documented and that I've given about my experience. So when I was 17, I was put on a bus. They sent me back to New Orleans. I got off the bus and I didn't have anywhere to go. I was unhoused, right? I had completely, like, not had any contact with, like, my family. There was no desire for me to talk to my biological family. I still kind of feel that way to this day. And I was actually walking down Loyola, and I made it to what everybody knows to be Society Page. And on that corner, there were the girls of the time. They were all on the corner. And I saw them, and I knew that there was something different about them. I didn't know how to say it or the words to use. I just knew that there was something different about them. And they actually saw me, and they were just like, oh, that's a girl. That's a lady. You know what I mean? So just having that experience, like, you know, and then, like, continuing to see these women as I continue to live and navigate New Orleans, and like them pour into me and then teach me what I needed to know about, walking into my identity, basically. And so, yeah, I mean, that's how I got here. So I always give credit to those women for seeing me before I saw myself.
Can you talk about like those few, like some of the girls you saw, other than those women that you were like, oh,
well, I mean, when I saw them, it was like, oh my God, that's the puzzle piece that was missing. Like, whatever that is, I want it. That's what I've been missing. That is. It seemed like that was what it was that had been keeping me in this place of uncertainty, where I didn't know necessarily where I fit in the world, but also I felt incomplete as a person because I didn't know how to navigate the world. Like, I was a horrible dresser before. Like, I was terrible. Like,
I'm still figuring out the dress of the situation.
No, but I had no fashions because I was trying to wear clothes that didn't align with my identity, so I would be in the store looking at.
Did you feel like Did you feel like a little behind? Like, I still feel like I'm in, like, I've started like this medical transition, like I feel like I'm in a new puberty. Like, I feel like I still am figuring, like, I'm going through it all again. Like,
well, no, I don't feel
is that
behind.
no? I feel right on time. I can't relate.
I understand what you're saying, and there was a time, yes, that I felt like that. So I grew up under like Opal Vanderhurst and like Vanessa Vanderhurst and like Lexi Vanderhurst, like all like Paula Dupree and Tyra Fox.
I would say that the only people that Paula Dupree is the only one. No, I mean, all of those, and those are women from here, the city. Okay.
I mean, those are iconic women from here who have done so many things outside of being who they are. But it's like I grew up under those women, and unless you went through the thing, like did what you had to do to get your body done and get your breast implants and things that are now more accessible for folks transitioning, those procedures, like you weren't respected. And that was just a different time, but that also, it created a way for me to really get serious about what it is I wanted and get it by any means necessary, because I really, having the validation of the girls that I looked up to was everything for me. And so I knew then in order to get that and to receive that validation that there were just certain things I had to do. And that really also what saved my life.
Are you happy with that? Because I feel like I'm on the fence. Like, I would say, like, when I came onto the scene, I feel like I was so in my uncomfortability that I was like, you see all the girls and nobody says, it's certain thresholds you feel like you have to be,
well, it was a different
trans
time.
woman.
It was a different time. So back then you have to realize, like, the terminology, like non-binary and gender non-conforming, like it was either or. It was no in between that we actually were educated on. I just want to be clear, like, yes,
it existed.
Androgyny, non-binary folks have always been here. We just we weren't that expansive. We didn't have that level of education around what gender expansiveness was, and how to just talk about it. Also, how to accept it, because we were still women in our own right, just trying to make a way. But I am grateful, yes, and I really do still appreciate the women that I grew up underneath, because it, like I said, it really kept me alive, because, it forced me to do what I needed to do to create and take care of Mariah, right? And it taught me life skills, right? It taught me that I've always been independent. I've never depended on anyone else, to take care of me, to keep a roof over my head, and like being finally recognized as a full-grown woman in my right, in the eyes of someone like a Opal Vanderhurst or a Vanessa, or someone that was everything to me. And no, I don't regret that. And today that is different, right? Because we celebrate folks in their many different identities.
We understand that trans
in their many
isn't
different
just
journeys, right?
Yeah,
but back then it wasn't like that. And I think that for some people, that's where you see them now. They're happier, right? Because now it's okay to say, you know what, some days I don't want to present like this all the time.
And I'm still a woman.
And that's okay.
And I'm still a woman.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's been the biggest
Yeah.
lessons I'm learning in
Yeah.
mine is that no matter how I present, I'm still a woman. It's still giving that. And speaking on the politics side of things and wanting to feel respected, how did that play into, okay, how did you even make the decision to run? How did respectability politics of being a trans woman, did you have a platform? What was the thought behind Mariah Moore District D, right? District D.
Yeah, I mean, that was tricky, right? Because we were in the pandemic. We're still in a pandemic, but we were in an active global pandemic, and I think that I had already done so much and I was already just so visible that I didn't lean into my identity to run my race or my campaign. I actually I actively stayed away from that topic because I didn't just want to be, you know, like actors are typecast, like they can only play this one type of character or they're only good for this one thing. I didn't want people to receive me that way. And so I never talked about it. And I actively just talked about the issues that our city was facing. But what made me run or what inspired me to run or what motivated me to run was just that we were always talking about wanting change and we need these things and how great it would be to have these things, and you know, we protest and we submit our ideas and we give feedback, but if you're not in a decision making seat, there aren't any changes that can be made. And that's why I always tell people, like, it's important. The electoral political process is important. You know, the presidential, you know, election is great, but if you don't have local folks in elected positions that can advocate on your behalf or pass ordinances that empower you to get things done, as you know, something as small as a vendor's license for a food truck. You know, if your city council is making that impossible for you to get, and you know, and you're running a food truck illegally, and then when you're hit with more fines and fees, and now you're being arrested because you have failed to pay these fees, it's just creating an evolving problem that mainly affects Black and brown folks in the city. And so it's really important. It was really important to me to really represent folks who don't have a voice or who aren't at the table when we look at not just the gender identity or sexuality of folks in elected positions, but also the socioeconomic status and education level of the folks that are in these positions. None of your city council members can identify or relate to your everyday issues. All of them have always been successful. They come from generational
generational
that
things
have had political power and say in the city, and so
and
it's
time,
an inheritance
space.
for them.
Like, I feel like we are taken out of a lot of things. A lot of times we are put into them strategically. What was it like for you not to win the election, and what did you learn in the failure of not winning?
Well, so first of all, it felt terrible to not win, but I think that feeling subsided very quickly, because what I had to realize in that moment was that I had done so much, and I had several victories within that campaign. So
Can you list them for the people?
yes, so I knocked on over 10,000 doors. I fundraised the most money out of any candidate. I actually paid all of the folks who worked on my campaign, even folks who door knocked. We had paid volunteers. I think it's very important always to pay people for their time, their labor, and their expertise. And so even folks that just wanted to support me, I made sure that they walked away with something for their time. And then just being, you know, in this moment, this is where I really relish, and really celebrate the fact, like, yes, as a Black trans woman, the first Black trans woman that we know of who has run for city council in the city, to do that and to be so successful was a victory within itself. And so, yeah, there were many victories. And so that feeling, it went away very quickly. So, yeah. Yeah.
And Do you feel like in the race and just as a black trans woman that the New Orleans community supported you?
Wow. Well, so I mean, the honest answer to that is no. And I want to be specific when we say the New Orleans community, who we're talking about.
Okay.
So who are we talking about?
I think I open ended when when I say New Orleans community, I think I'm thinking of everyone who lives in New Orleans, and I think we do know subsectors. So I would say you can answer first. Do you feel like New Orleans, just as we talk about the big body of New Orleans, and then secondly, black, queer, trans folks, the people who, for me, you were doing it for the most, maybe.
Yeah, so I will say this. So so I can break down community. So when we talk about progressive voters, specifically in the district and outside of the district, yes, I did feel very supported. Also by the I think couple thousand people that voted for me or whatever the number was, I felt a tremendous amount of support from them. When we break that down a little bit further, no. I think that, and I don't, this is not a blame game, right? I have to really, I lean into the demographics of the district in which I ran, which I understand that not a lot of our community lived in the district, and if they did live in the district, then they weren't actually registered to vote, or they weren't politically engaged. And so when we talk about the makeup of the district that I ran in, it's one of the districts that has the largest amount of families. And then when we talk about black middle class families, it is kind of the nucleus for that. So Gentilly, all of the outlying areas, Lake Vista, parts of Lakeview, the 7th Ward, some of the 9th Ward, a little bit of the Marigny, So when we think about that, there were little pockets where I really, really excelled in, and I had an upper hand over other candidates, but then there were parts of the district which I was really non-existent or not really considered. And that's nobody's fault, right? And so, yeah, there were parts of the community that I felt really supported. And then I understood, due to everything, right, due to the struggles that our community faces, that I understood, like, there's still work to be done, and that's some of my responsibility with the work that I do to make sure that we are creating spaces where we're having more conversations, why it's important to be politically engaged no matter where you are in your life, whether you're unhoused, housed, employed, unemployed, or underemployed. This process matters, and we all should take responsibility and ownership for our role in it.
Do you feel like, is there a certain level of accountability you take in maybe not winning, and is there something you regret? Like, oh, I wish I would have did this, and maybe the outcome would be different.
I'm going to say no. I don't take any ownership or accountability. I think, I ran the best race that I could, and I did the best job that I could, and I really stayed true to me. I did what I felt was right, and I did what I felt was genuine. I refused to go to churches like other candidates because I don't go to church regularly. So I felt like people would see straight through that, and that would be very disingenuous. And I really think a lot of people gravitated to the fact that I was just very direct and clear and saying there are certain things that I'm not going to do. So if I don't go to church, I'm not going to church. If I don't go to parks, I'm not going to parks. It's just certain things, like I'm going to run this race as if it's my everyday life, and I'm going to show up for the things that matter and the reasons why I'm running. So I went to community events. I talked to folks in areas where folks were struggling, meaning not just neighborhoods where they had associations, but neighborhoods where there was a high amount of folks where they rented properties, right? Housing is one of the core issues that I fight for. So I'm going to always be talking to folks who are struggling. Renters are mainly our target population when we talk about folks who are struggling. I mean, right now in this current moment, homeowners are really at risk for foreclosure due to rising insurance costs and mortgage rates.
You own your home?
I
Or
do own
Are
my
you?
home.
So you speaking from experience? Were you talking about all of
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. But then I wasn't a homeowner, right?
Mhm.
Then I was a renter.
Mm-hmm.
I was a renter, and luckily I had a great, you know, homeowner who rented their property to me that had a very equitable rent system.
When did you own your own? When did you become homeowner? Because that's not a lot. You know, I don't know many trans. I think you may be the only trans woman I know personally that owns a home.
Well, no, I know a few.
I don't know
Yeah.
any. Also, I'm 25, so I don't know quite a lot of my. I feel like
Yeah.
we're in a recession. You don't think we're in a recession?
We're not in a recession. We are in an economic. We're in a little bit of an economic decline, but we're not in a recession.
It don't feel like that.
It definitely feels tighter.
Okay.
I wouldn't say recession, and we want to be careful about our words there, but I don't want to get people in a panic. But yes, so I bought my I bought my home in 2022. And it was life changing. Like, it was amazing. It was the best feeling that I had ever could imagine. I finally got this piece of space that is mine.
Did you decorate and stuff?
It's beautiful.
You
yes.
decorate. Are you good at that? I'm bad at designing stuff. I would have hired someone.
I thought I wasn't gonna be good at it, but it turned out great. People walk in and they always say, "Oh my God, your home looks like something out of a magazine."
That's good. You're good. Is there a color scheme?
So I love nudes and neutrals. So I have a lot of rustic, it's like very neutral, like wood. Like, I love those like kind of textures. So I just kind of like the how I went with the barn door, all that great stuff. So
I haven't been to your house.
Not a lot of people do
I was
get
like,
an
is this
invite
an
to my
invite?
home.
How do I get an invite?
you can. I don't. So my home is This is really
Okay.
So my home is like my sacred space. Like, there are not a lot of people that know where I live, that have been invited to my home, that will ever be like, that is a truly sacred space that I go to escape. So I don't really invite a lot of people. Not even a lot of people can tell you where I live.
So you working on the second house? Cause I would I'm sure in my head, in my head you go, so this your sacred space, and then the spot that is your house, your front facing house.
Yes and no. I think it's just a lot of responsibility. So I bought the home originally in Araby, which is right outside
In the Chalmette area.
Yes, it is the Chalmette area. I didn't know how to feel about that, but my bank now, which I understand was illegal, they wouldn't give me the loan that I needed to buy the home that I wanted in District D because it was too expensive. But they approved me because they said, I'm sorry, that bank did not do that. Another bank would only approve me if I moved to either Jefferson or St. Bernard, which now I understand is illegal. It's,
So you.
But I fell in love with this house anyway,
Okay.
and I got it. But I say that to say, yes, insurance rates are impacting us all as homeowners. My mortgage has increased because we don't have anyone to choose from in terms of flood and damage insurance. And so they are able to charge us whatever they want. Kind of like Entergy, right? It's a monopoly. Yeah.
Well, peace and blessings to you. Again, another thing I aspire. I want a front. I just thought of it. I want a sacred home, and I would like a front
But I'm
facing home.
selling that house, so.
You're selling that house. Maybe I'll take Mariah's sacred home, and then we could switch off. I don't have the bank money, but maybe we could trans coins.
It's hard out here.
No, I feel that. Speaking about the girls and talking about us as a community in terms of us, when I say the girls, I feel like there's different terms. I was talking to my best friend the other day, and I was like, when we say the girls or we say the dolls, we're specifically talking about our sisters and kinship. What do you feel like is the biggest struggle we face within sisterhood?
I mean, I really honestly, I just think just my many, many years of just being in community and even in this work, I just think that so many of us are just in our own silos and different stages of our life, and we're experiencing different struggles, and we all have different perceptions of who we think the other one is, and I think that we don't really get the chance to know each other outside of what we have in common or what we experience, meaning like a lot of us at one time, all we did was go out and party, and that was the only thing we had in common was seeing each other in that environment. And so we don't really get to experience each other outside of that environment. And I really think if we had spaces to experience each other in different environments, then that we would have a much stronger community.
I would agree. I had the privilege of going to B-Tech with the Transgender Law Center. Mariah works for the Transgender Law Center, y'all. She got a good job. And I was so blessed to go to B-Tech, which is a conference that is for Black trans folks, right? Am I saying that correct? So I would say it's a conference for Black trans folks. When I went into that conference, I had never felt like I have tasted a trans rainbow. Like, I never felt like I was able to see us in different shades, different lights, different backgrounds. So often we think, or we're told we don't have history, so you don't feel like you see. I was able to see people older than 40, right? Older than whatever the age limit that you're used to seeing. And then not only that, I was able to see that we're not a monolith, that there's not a specific way to be a trans woman. And I think sometimes that is also what starts the conflict. And I've also realized that I think a lot of with social media and things is that we in conflict just, like, have you ever heard of the term generative conflict? Yeah, I feel like we just in conflict for conflict's sake. How do we, being in the advocate world, I'm trying to figure out how I want to say it, being in the advocate space, how do we shift the generative conflict? Because I feel like a lot of things are distractions. As you know, sometimes it's like you could be going through the social media space, you just trying to live your life, you try to do the work, go do what you got to do, whatever. But then conflict arises, and it's conflict that sometimes don't even got nothing to do with the real things we need to change. How do we switch that conversation?
Well, I think so. There are many different things that play into this, right? So there's the lack of emotional regulation that a lot of our community members, experience, and then there's a lot of internalizing a lot of what we experience and then what we read, see, and hear, and we internalize that and we take it personally. And we never, and I include myself in that because just because I'm an activist or an advocate, I'm not absolved from that. Internalize that and then take it personal and then act on behalf of what I'm internalizing and what I'm feeling or experiencing in that moment. I think taking a step back to say, this is a general statement, or this is, this is by design, or even if you think that this has something to do with you, is this worth my time? Is this what good is this going to do for any of us, right? Yeah. So, and I mean, I've learned that too, and I have to practice it every day, and some days I'm really great at it, and others I'm not. And so, I think just having that, experience, that emotional regulation, but also just having a commitment to want to be in peace and really be in community with each other. There are so many things like I've seen on social media that I don't respond to, like, some things I respond privately to, other things. So, it can unfold in many different ways. I think it's about how we handle the conflict and how we engage with each other. Specifically here in New Orleans, we're really bad at it. We're really bad at engaging with each other. We're really bad at, really just
Well, I think it has a lot to do with what you're saying about, like, perspective.
Yeah.
Like, I think, and this is just in all honesty, in me meeting you, I was, like, very excited. I'm like, I'm excited to meet this woman. And then I don't know if it was my own, sometimes it's your own insecurity. And I questioned, I was like, was it my own insecurity? Was it you come in? Because we were talking about this. Miss Mariah is going to have a shade. Her hair is going to be done. And sometimes when you are walking into the community, you could be intimidated by that because it's like, oh, I don't look like that yet. or I'm not there yet. I don't see, like, I see myself in that person, but I don't really know where it quite fits. And I think in some ways, like, as I've gotten to be around you more, some of the perceptions in that first initial meeting of like, oh, maybe I can't, like, how can I, evaporated because I wasn't going just based off of perception, right?
And I also think, like, people forget that, like, everything has its process. And, like, even when I was a young girl, like, the girls that I look up to, they intimidated me terribly. But there were moments when I internalized things like, it's unfair that I am struggling this bad and I'm going through all of these things, and then these girls just seem to have it all together. They have the most luxurious things. They wear the most beautiful things. I have nothing. I feel broken. I feel like I'm never going to reach this place. And I too had to come to understand that they too were once in this very same, position that I'm in, and that it's not their responsibility to make me feel good or make me feel like I should be grateful for anything. And it's not their job to explain to me that someday I may get here to where they are. It's their responsibility to live their life and to walk in their truth. And so I think a lot of times, too, we internalize where we are and we look at other people and we say, it's not fair that they have these
It would be nice, because it would be nice. It would be nice.
Right?
But it's not their responsibility.
But I've been in a place, too, where I've looked at someone and I'm like, it's really not. I do that now. I'm like, I want to go on The View. It's not fair that this person went on The View and didn't have nothing good to say. How did they get there? And then I'll be mad at them, and I'm like, well, I really shouldn't be mad at them, because eventually I'll get there one day. It was the same way when I was a young trans woman and I didn't have anything, and I looked at these women who had also been through so much that I knew nothing about.
Right. That was also, I think, and that was also the thing when I realized, I was like, oh, they're living that, like, we are so self-absorbed as people sometimes. You forget people are living their own lives, and they've also lived, but sometimes similar, sometimes worse, sometimes lives be lived.
Yeah.
What do you have to say to the people who don't get you? I'm sure we all have people who you may hear, oh, this girl don't like me, and specifically as an organizer, too, because I think we all have different organizing styles. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to organize. I think what's important is that we organize.
Yeah.
What you gotta say to the people that say, I don't like the way she organized, it's not I don't see nothing's going on over there, all I see is the facade of the shade and the hair. What you say to those people?
Well, I mean, I don't really have anything to say to them.
I don't care, though.
I mean, but the reality is this, right? It's like, I don't work on social media, right? Like, and a lot of times that's the only thing that people get to consume as it relates to me. And what they fail to realize is that those are only small glimpses of my life. So if they see me with my hair done and my shades on, or they see this very beautiful polished portrait, they don't realize too earlier in the day that I had to wake up and I looked a mess, right? And that I specifically prepared for this photo. But outside of that, I also went to work. I also took 101 meetings. I helped someone out that, needed help, that was afraid to ask for help, that that was also so emotionally taxing for me. And so people don't see all the things. See, a lot of times we as people in this community, we want to cherry pick the things that fit our narratives to make our point valid, right? So I don't like her because look at this, or I don't like him because of this. And then you'll use this one thing as an example, but you totally ignore everything else. And I think that's what happens in my case a lot, or some of the things I hear. It's like, well, I don't like her because of this, or, she's not my cup of tea because of this, or she's changed. That's what I get a lot. She's changed. But what's wrong with change? And I ask people often, if you think I've changed, then what about me has changed? And then when they say some of the things that they think have changed about me, I have to correct them and let them know, that hasn't changed. I think the way in which I approach it, or the way in which I present it has changed, but the fundamental values that I have always been here, and the way in which I do things may have changed a little bit. So when we talk about, yes, the way I dress changes and continues to evolve. Guess what? As you elevate, everything has to elevate, right? So, how you carry yourself. Some people think that it's not genuine because when I'm on, and when I'm not, I'm not. So the Mariah that you may get at the society page is not going to be the Mariah that you get from 9 to 5.
At the Transgender Law Center.
It's not going to be the same person. And I want people to understand that that's crucial for my survival in this, right? Like, I get to be my full, authentic, messy, toe-up self where I feel safe.
And I think kind
Where
of
I
what
feel
you
safe.
said in perspective is a thing. I think of
Right.
everything as a movie. If you look at my life one way, you will see me as the villain. If you see it the other way, you'll see me as a superhero, depending on which take you get. And I think about that with everybody. I feel like it's all about what angle you're watching
I
from.
want to just make this clear.
Uh-huh.
That nobody can ever tell you that they came to me and asked me for help and I didn't give it to them. In whatever capacity I could. That's one thing they can never say. And one thing that I admire about myself is my ability to separate my personal feelings from what I'm supposed to be doing for the role in which I took on. Because this was my choice.
Yeah.
This is not something that I have to do, right? This is something that I chose to do because it deeply impacted the way that I was able to show up in the world and the future that I may or may not have had back then, right? Speaking of where I am right now. So this is something that I chose to do and still choose to do every day that I wake up. So I think people, they conflate the two, that she's supposed to like me, or it doesn't, we're supposed to be the best of friends. No. If we had conflict then, and we still have it now, then it is what it is. But
Do you
when
believe
you come
in-
to me,
Quick question. Do you believe in unconditional love? Like, do you believe in that, like, because when we talk about conflicts between sisters and community, do you,
Yeah.
like, in your level of forgiveness, some people be like, I can forgive you, but I'm never going to forget. Where do you stand on that?
I mean, I forgive. I forgive, but yes, I do have an unconditional love for my community, for everyone in my community. People in my journey, from then until now, I have been terribly wronged. I have wronged people, right? I have not always been right. I make mistakes. People have made mistakes. I have been violent. People have been violent towards me. It's a cycle that we've all participated in. But I tell you this, is that my outreach, my willingness to help others, it doesn't stop at whether we've had conflict or not. It surpasses that. And to me, that is because I have an unconditional love in my heart for my community. And so we don't have to have a perfect relationship. We don't have to be on the same page.
To do the work.
To do the work, for me to work on behalf of you, for me to point you in the direction of the resources that are going to help you, right? That is not a criteria for me being and showing up for you in this role that I'm choosing to be in. Yeah. So that is like one of the things that people they
put everything together when it's like we are a lot of different people, and we have a lot of different hats, and we do it. You can't mix, you can't mix it all together all the time.
No.
Lastly, House of Tulip. That was where I first, when I heard, I think it was around the time, I think it was a house maybe in Florida that had just, like, I feel like it was around the pandemic time. I feel like it was all these houses coming up, and maybe it wasn't all these, but a couple, and yours was one of them. It happened to be in my hometown, New Orleans, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the big deal.
Yeah.
This is it. Can you talk about the start, beginning, middle, end it, in the sense of start, maybe the middle, what happened, what's happening, and where is it in the current state?
Yeah, so I mean, I was working at Transgender Law Center, where I'm still currently employed, and I had put on a convening of Black trans women in the city, and it was just that those spaces I talk about, like spaces for us to come together, to connect with one another outside of what we normally experience or the environment that we're normally in, and so I got the opportunity to share space with Milan, you know, who, yes, we've kind of been in each other's orbit, but so separately, right? We had two separate groups of friends.
So y'all weren't like buddy at the
No.
start. Okay.
No, and you know, there was an unspoken tension because we didn't know each other. Like we didn't know each other like that. We knew of each other, but we didn't. We were like, I don't know her to want to get along with her or whatever. And now looking back on it, like, you know, that's so surface level. Like, and a lot of things can be solved through a conversation.
Just talk about it.
Right.
Which is why you should come on Created to Create.
And so we had the space and opportunity to do that. And what we found was like, wow, this girl is actually kind of brilliant and not that bad, and vice versa. So we were talking. So we actually developed a pretty close, you know, I guess, a friendship. And Milan had called me one day and she was like, well, I'm starting this fundraiser. And I was like, okay, all right, fundraiser. And she was like, I want you to help me and support me with it. And so I did, and we continued to raise money, and we continued to give it back. This is when, like, the pandemic was, like, it had first hit, and, like, nobody had jobs, or people were laid off, or, you know, and people were ordered to shelter in place. And, you know, our community, you know, we suffered the most. Like, you know, Black trans women who were engaged in sex work, unhoused people, undocumented people, immunocompromised.
Because where do you go?
Right. Where do you go? What do you do? You know, and how do you support yourself? And so we were like, damn, we really have to do something. And so we did that, and we continue to do it. We continue to work together. And then we were just like, well, we should do something that's more, you know, more permanent, you know, and more sustainable for our community. And so we got together and, you know, we did the thing. And if you want to learn more about that in the in-betweens, you can, because, you know, that story is told so many times. But long story short, we did it. We opened it up. And it was great, right? But it has so many challenges. It has so many challenges because people don't understand the gravity and the amount of labor that goes into direct services. And so I think that people don't know a lot of the challenges that we faced then and currently are facing now with just folks' journeys and a lot of the trauma that they're experiencing, which is also some of the same trauma that we have experienced in our journeys and in our lived experience. And so just seeing that every day and having to help people navigate that, you know, ultimately experiencing many different types of violence ourselves, you know, at the hands of community. You know, it's just been a journey that has been so complex, a lot of times rewarding, but more rewarding. It's been very difficult, I will say that, and it's both myself and Milan. Our mental health was declining.
Can I stop?
Yeah.
So you're kind of speaking about it in, like, I don't know, a little bit in the past tense.
Not in a
Do
past
you, like,
tense. I'm getting to
the circle.
yeah. But, you know, our mental health started to decline. People treat things like this now, I learned, as more of an entitlement. So you're providing this thing, and you are required to give me access to it because it's what you're supposed to do. And they totally disregard the part that you are supposed to put in equal amount of effort to do your part, because this is here to support you. And so what we are not is a parent, and what we are not is this overflowing, bountiful, come take whatever you want and then leave. It's like, you have to make commitments, and you have to stick to those commitments, and you also have to do the work to make sure that you are creating a foundation that is creating a sustainable life for you. And so what we are experiencing is a lot of that just didn't happen because a lot of people just were not ready. And I understand where you can be in a constant state of transition and not feel safe enough to make those commitments, right? Because you feel like at any given moment the rug will be pulled out from underneath you, right? And I get that. But one thing that I tried to make perfectly clear on many different occasions was, as long as you are creating the foundation that makes you feel safe, then everything else will follow. What happened was, and what continues to happen is, folks come in with a motive or an underlying motive like, oh, I just want to get a surgery. Oh, I just want to, commit to saving enough money and then moving away. And it's like, this is not what this is for. Because at the end of the day, we're also trying to contribute to our community and create a pathway for our community members to grow into the same productive, involved community members that we see around us, right? And creating a pathway for more folks to come behind you to grow and to flourish, and so that we have more active participation in community, so that we are now out here modeling this possibility model that we created to show, yes, this does work and it can work. But what happened and what is continuing to happen is that it just didn't happen. And so, like everything, when priorities change, meaning this the wave of anti-LGBTQ bills and the wave of anti-trans legislation came flowing in, funding priorities shift, right? And so for funding priorities then shifted from direct service, which everyone was excited about, right? At one point, everybody wants to fund the work so that, we can do exactly what we need to do for folks in real time, to we need to pour more money into folks who are lobbying and folks who are introducing pro-LGBTQ legislation, meaning like the equality organizations and things like that.
More folks that are working with the government and the capitalist society that we are in.
So we saw a huge decrease in funding. And so if anybody knows anything about direct service, it takes a large amount of money to fund this. I also want to add that, in the height of House of Tulip, we provided fabulous events. Like, we did Thanksgiving dinners. We did, when Hurricane Ida hit, which
matriarch Yaisha Bubbles Dylan definitely cooked for, right?
Yes, twice. But folks that weren't even trans or in the LGBT community, we still supported them through, Hurricane Ida, when many of us were displaced. So we've done so much, and I think that folks think that these resources last forever, and they don't. Because when people make a decision to shift their priorities, everything changes. And I'm meaning funders in philanthropy. The philanthropic industrial complex is a very, very, very small playground, especially for trans-led organizations. I think we get 1 cent on the dollar for all the money that is earmarked for LGBTQ
It's
initiatives.
the small piece of the pie.
It's a very small piece of the pie. So House of Tulip it's still active in its own way. We're still housing, some of the girls, but it has its challenges, and it is a revolutionary model that worked for some and doesn't work for others. And what we understand is that some people need a lot more structure, and some people they take off and they blossom without structure. But it's just very difficult and complex, and I just feel like a lot of people have a lot of critique and feedback for this organization, but none of them ever showed up, and none of them still show up to this day. To say, how can I help? Or
Feedback
how can
from
I be involved?
spectators.
Exactly. Or they make assumptions about, what we could be doing or what we didn't do. But none of these people ever showed up to volunteer.
And also, I would also add that I think a lot of it, like,
Yeah.
you were, like, when you say, like, one of few, like, there's not a lot, like, there's not a rule book, a document that says this is how you should do it.
No.
And I commend you for that.
Thank you.
I love you for that, because I think ultimately, you, like, once I start my house or once someone else start, then they can say, okay, this is how I want it to be run. But
And you can say that, and I just want to be clear.
that's sometimes what you say.
You can say how you want something to be run, but the beauty that the beautiful thing that I and Milan wanted for folks is that there were these 10 rules, right? This is your home, but outside of these 10 rules, make this your home. But you have to stick to these 10 rules. They were very basic things, and we would think like, oh my God, this is so simple. But it was a real challenge for a lot of folks. And I just, you want folks to have a space that feels like their own. But because, and I share in this experience, even when I had a place where I was paying rent, it still didn't feel like my own because of so many previous transitions I had made in my life. And I had to understand where that was coming from. So being in foster care, being rejected, doing all these things, being in sex work, being on the road for years, living out of hotels, and all of these different things contributed to me not feeling safe in somewhere I could afford to pay my own rent, right? So I had to really look back and understand why I never fully unpacked, right? Why I never fully hung up pictures on all of my walls, because I never really felt safe to do so, because I always felt like it was going to change in an instant, because I did not have that stability, because I had not yet built a stable foundation for myself. I had not yet gotten to a place where I was self-actualized, where I said that all of these things are going to happen for me, and no matter where I'm at in that journey, there's one thing that's going to stay the same, right? And that's going to be the place where I lay my head, right? And my support system. And until I actually decided, right, those were the things I needed to address, I never felt safe. I never felt like I had a sense of security in my own home, because I always felt like something was going to change. So what advice I can give to anybody in constant states of transition is that there are some decisions that you need to make. Number one is you have to decide that, you have to decide to create a plan where you're going to build that stability. No matter what it is, whether it is your support system, whether it is your employment status, you have to decide that this is the plan I'm going to have to create that stable foundation for myself. And once you do that, then everything else will fall into place. Of course, we have our challenges. There are some days, child, the light bill is too high. It's too high.
And so do you skip a month like I do?
Yes, Lord.
Okay, I just wanted to make
I
sure.
woke up I got back from travel, honey, the lights was off, and the energy was like, well, girl, you ain't paid in 3 months.
It sounds about me. It sounds like me running
I mean,
gas.
it is what it is. But I'm just going to say life challenges will come. But I have a support system. I have friends that I love and that love me, that I can call on when I'm experiencing the highs and the very, very deep lows. I have a job that I have been with for almost 7 years.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, that it keeps me
Grounded.
safe and grounded. But also outside of that, I have a plan for one day when I just wake up and I don't feel like I want to do this anymore, right? So we have to be actively planning these things and take responsibility for ourselves. We do.
My shades on, take a bubble bath, spring the A's on, honey.
Thank you so much for watching Created to Create. I'm still here with Mariah Moore. We have one more question. Stick with us and see what you got to say, right? So, last question. What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh wow. That's hard. I think as a young person, waking up every day not knowing that a future was certain or that it was available to me, and like navigating that uncertainty every day, not knowing like, oh my God, am I ever gonna be any of these things, right? I think that still lingers with me every day. It's like, wow, like I really made it this far. I've really done a lot of these things. Mm-hmm. I think when I think about my legacy, I just want to be known and, remembered for being fun and, at times wild, because that's the everyday Mariah, right? I want to be known as someone who loved her friends. Mm-hmm. Got a little bit too drunk at times, but that's a part of me. Mm-hmm. But was deeply loving and caring, and throughout all of like the terrible, terrible things that I experienced, I still never led or acted or led my life with that anger and resentment that I could have very well led with and been very justified in doing, right? And so I want people to remember me for that. And then I also just want to be more professionally remembered for creating a lot of something with a little bit of nothing. And I think
I wanted to snap, but we got microphones and things, but that was a snap worthy moment, okay?
I think that I just want to also just be remembered for creating pathways, opening doors, and not shutting them behind me, and just being a good representative and what a good neighbor, what a good New Orleanian looks like, no matter whether I stay here for the rest of my life or move on to live somewhere else. I just want to be known for my great contribution, no matter what that is, big or small. I just want to be known for that.
Well, thank you so much for contributing to this conversation. I just get so happy. This is like dreams really do come true, y'all. I'm a talk show host, first guest, Mariah Moore. I can't wait to get some more of Miss Moore. And you can find out about all her things on her social media. What is it, at the Mariah Moore? At the Mariah Moore, House of Tulip, all the things. Oh, you want to look at that camera real quick? Tell the people bye.
Bye, everyone.
And then can we look at that one right there and say, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Created to Create. This is Mariah Moore. See you next time.
See you next time.
I am 2Ps. Baby, do the math. Damn. I didn't know I looked this good. Did you know I looked this good? Tell me.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can never say thank you enough. Like, wow, I have a talk show. And it's because you watching it, and it's also because of me. I'm going to toot myself off. Special thanks to Noma, because, baby, it takes some money to do some things. And thank you for being the community that I get to do it with. Thank you to all of my siblings at Loud, the Alexander family, as well as Studio La La La, this beautiful space we're filming in. I love y'all so much. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.
Don't take me, boo, 'cause I'm grown. If I wanna help a problem, would I ask? See, I'm minding me, 'cause I'm grown. Did you hear me? You probably wouldn't listen, so I'll say it once more. Bitch, I'm grown. Take some notes or leave, I don't care, 'cause I'm grown. Just graduated college, got the BFA. Now they wanna test my knowledge, see if I'm okay.